The evacuation sirens had already faded to echoes when Rowan reached the spaceport. His boots pounded against the cracked tarmac, lungs burning, heart hammering against his ribs like a caged animal. The last transport ship, a massive colony vessel bound for New Terra, was already lifting off, its engines roaring defiance at the dying Earth below. No, no, no. Rowan screamed, stumbling to his knees as the ship's thrusters ignited fully. The heat washed over him even from this distance, singeing his eyebrows, making his skin prickle. He'd missed it. By minutes. Maybe seconds. Behind him, the city was already burning. The solar flares had begun their final assault on Earth's magnetic field, turning the atmosphere into a furnace. Humanity's two-century reign on this world was ending, and he'd just missed the last lifeboat. Rowan watched the transport disappear into the orange-hazed sky, taking with it 7,000 souls. Taking Georgia, his mind flashed to her face 3 hours ago, her hand reaching for him through the crowd at the checkpoint. Rowan, hurry. But he'd gone back. His younger sister was trapped in the collapsed shelter, and he couldn't leave her. By the time he'd pulled her free and gotten her onto an earlier transport, his own boarding window had closed. The heat was intensifying. Rowan staggered toward the spaceport's underground bunkers, the only structures rated to withstand the coming firestorm. Most were locked, their inhabitants already fled or dead. But one door stood open, and he tumbled inside just as the first true wave of solar radiation turned the sky white. The bunker's emergency systems kicked in with a groan. Ancient backup generators sputtered to life. Rowan collapsed against the wall, chest heaving, reality crashing down on him. He was alone, on a planet becoming uninhabitable. With no way off, that he laughed bitterly. The rescue missions would come eventually, once Earth cooled enough to allow landings again. Scientists estimated 18 to 20 years. Assuming he could survive that long in this tomb, that's when he heard the voice. "You're not alone, human." Rowan spun around, his hand instinctively reaching for the plasma cutter on his belt. In the dim emergency lighting, he saw her, a figure emerging from the deeper shadows of the bunker. She was tall, easily 7 feet, with scales that shimmered like molten copper in the red emergency lights. Her eyes were vertical slits of brilliant gold, and when she moved, it was with a fluid grace that seemed almost serpentine. 2 small horns curved back from her forehead, and her fingers ended in curved talons that clicked softly against the metal floor. "Draconi," Rowan whispered, one of the alien species that had made contact with humanity 50 years ago. Dragon people, the media had called them. They lived on worlds most species considered hellish, planets close to their suns, bathed in radiation that would kill humans in hours. "My name is Georgia," she said, and Rowan's heart stopped. That's impossible. Georgia is human. She's on the transport. You saw a human girl named Georgia board that ship," the Draconi said softly. "Because that's who I was pretending to be. Holographic disguise. Required for field operatives studying human culture." She touched a device on her wrist, and for a moment, the familiar face of the girl he loved flickered over the draconic features before dissolving. "I'm sorry for the deception." Rowan's world tilted. 3 years. 3 years of friendship, of growing feelings, of shared dreams about the colony on New Terra. All of it a lie. "What?" His voice cracked. "Why didn't you just leave with the others?" "You could have. I saw you running for the transport," Georgia said simply. "I saw you turn back. Saw you rescue that child from the rubble. And I knew you wouldn't make it." She stepped closer, her golden eyes reflecting pain that seemed achingly human despite her alien features. "So I stayed. Dropped my hologram and stayed." "You stayed? On a dying planet?" "For me. My people evolved on worlds like this will become," Georgia said. "The radiation, the heat, it won't kill me. I can survive here for decades if needed. But you." She gestured to the bunker around them. "Humans need protection, infrastructure, hope." Over the following days, as Earth's surface transformed into a hellscape of fire and radiation, Rowan learned the truth. Georgia had been an anthropologist, sent to study human resilience in crisis. She'd chosen her human form carefully, integrated perfectly. But somewhere in those 3 years, her mission had become something else that she'd fallen in love with him. With his kindness, his courage, his foolish human heart that would risk everything for family. The bunker became their world. Georgia's natural resistance to radiation allowed her to venture outside, scavenging supplies from other shelters. Her people's technology, hidden in her true form, provided resources, water recyclers, food synthesizers, medical equipment. She transformed the tomb into a sanctuary. Rowan taught her what it meant to be human in ways her anthropological studies never could. The vulnerability, the doubt, the fierce determination to survive. Georgia showed him the universe through draconian eyes, patience measured in decades, love that burned hotter than any star at AT night. When the radiation storms howled above, they talked. About everything. About nothing. Rowan sketched plans for hydroponic gardens. Georgia told stories of her homeworld, where twin suns painted the sky in perpetual crimson. "We'll get off this rock," Rowan would say. "We will," Georgia would reply, her taloned hand carefully, gently, taking his. Years passed. 5, 10, 15. Earth's fury slowly cooled. The bunker expanded into a small underground complex. Gardens bloomed in UV-lit chambers. Rowan's hair grayed at the temples. Georgia remained ageless, as her people did, but her eyes grew warmer, more human somehow. In the 18th year, they heard it, the distant thunder of spacecraft engines. The rescue mission had finally arrived. Standing at the bunker entrance, Rowan watched the ships descend through the still harsh atmosphere. Behind him, Georgia stood in her true form, no longer hiding. "They'll take us to New Terra," Rowan said. Together, Georgia smiled, revealing sharp teeth that Rowan had learned to love. Together, she agreed. When the rescue team found them, they were stunned. Two survivors where they'd expected none, a human man and a draconian woman, hand in hand, emerging from the fire. The rescue captain stared in disbelief. "How did you survive?" Rowan looked at Georgia, at the dragon woman who'd waited 18 years in the fire for him, who'd turned a tomb into a home, who'd proved that love could endure in the harshest conditions the universe could create. "We had each other," he said simply, "and in the end, that had been enough."